back pressure is a very important concept in RxSwift, and in this session you will learn about what exactly back pressure problem is and what kind of issue it can raise in your application, what are the different ways to solve back pressure problem, and in the last you will learn with the help of coding example. So our first objective is to understand the back pressure problem exactly, and we will do that with the help of a diagram. So in the given diagram you can see there are two servers and there is one mobile application. Now imagine a situation. My server 1 is sending a continuous stream of the data to my server 2 at the speed of 1000 responses per second, and the data that is getting received to the server 2 from the server 1, server 2 need to do some processing, right? So due to that processing load, my server 2 is only able to process 800 responses per second, and there is a lag continuously building on the per second basis on the server 2 for the 200 request. Okay, so there is a pressure building on the server 2 to process 200 remaining requests every time on the per second basis. Now imagine the second part of this problem. So my server 2 is only able to process 800 requests per second, and it is sending a continuous stream of the data to my application at the speed of 800 responses per second. Now on my application side, application need to do some heavy read-write data operation or some heavy graphical operation on the data that is getting received from the server 2. Now suppose my application is only able to process 500 requests per second basis. So what is happening on the application side? There is a continuous lag of processing building on the application side in the form of 300 requests per second that is remaining. Okay, so on the server 2 side there is a pressure building on for the processing. On the application side there is a pressure building on to process remaining 300 requests on the per second basis, and that pressure is known as back pressure basically. So now you would be thinking that in which particular condition these kind of situation can happen in your app. So this kind of condition can only occur when your server is sending a continuous stream of the data to your application, and this basically happens when your application uses WebSocket connection to receive a continuous stream of the data in the form of a one-to-one connection. In normal request and response scenario, this problem never occurs. Okay, so whenever you are having a WebSocket type of connection in your application with the server, then this back pressure problem can or cannot be occur, right? But most of the time this problem happens. So this pressure that is building on the server 2, building on the application side, is basically known as the back pressure. So you understand the back pressure in general. And now we are going to take a very RxSwift specific example just to make you understand that what kind of problem this back pressure can cause in your application. So in the example, there is a zip operator and there are two other observables for which the zip operator is combining these streams just to give you a new observable stream in the combined form. Now imagine a one more situation where the speed of the observable 1 is the twice of the speed of the observable 2. So you have already understood this. What will happen exactly? There will be a back pressure start building on the zip operator, but what technical problem it can cause? So when the back pressure start building, it start consuming the memory of the system, and now this ever expanding buffer of the memory can keep on growing, and ultimately it can result a worst nightmare for a developer, that is application crash. So if the back pressure is not get properly handled in your application, it can result into an application crash. So this is a severe problem.
So there can be two kind of solution to handle the back pressure in your application. One is the lossy solution and another one is the lossless solution. So lossy solutions are for the condition where you can afford to lose some of the information element with the time. And lossless solution are for the condition where you can't afford to lose any of the information element that is coming continuously as a stream of data from any server in your application. One practical situation where you can use lossy solution in your application is when your application need to show a cricket match data after a periodic time to the user. So in that condition, user is much more interested in terms of getting the latest update of the match after a periodic time instead of getting each and every information element from the match. So in that particular situation, you can use lossy solution. Practical example of using the lossless solution can be the medical application, where against the data that is continuously getting received from the server in the form of a stream, you need to plot some graphical data for the patient. So in that kind of condition, you can't afford to lose any of the information element that is getting received continuously from the server. So in this type of situation, we have to use lossless solutions. Debounce, throttle and sample. These are the three operators that you can use to implement the lossy solution. These three operators are having very subtle difference in terms of their working, so you have to understand them very attentively. So Marvell diagram is one of the best way to understand the working of any operator in RX Swift. Here you can see the Marvell diagram for all the three operators: debounce, throttle and sample. And as I have already told you that there is a very subtle difference in terms of the working of these three operators. So our first two operators are debounce and throttle, and we will try to understand them together because they have a very minute difference in terms of their working. So debounce operator basically wait for the observable to stop before emitting the latest value after the given time interval. And throttle basically keep on emitting the latest value from the observable within the given time interval. So we can understand these two statements in a better way with the help of an example. Suppose you are having a screen, and on that particular screen you are having a button, and on the pressing of that button some statement get printed. So if you are using the debounce operator and user is pressing that button continuously, that means he is generating the stream of the elements for the UI screen to be consumed. In that case, when user will stop pressing that particular button, then after the specified time interval, that print statement will get executed in your application. But in case of throttle, when user is pressing that particular button continuously, and if you have given 2 seconds as the specified time interval, then no matter how many times user is pressing that button, that print statement will get executed after every 2 seconds or within 2 seconds. So here you can say there is a very minute difference in terms of the working of these two operators. So third operator is the sample operator, and in terms of the working, it is almost same as the throttle operator. The only difference is sample operator basically takes a trigger observable as the parameter. So that point you would be able to understand better when you see the coding example for these three operators. Buffer and window are the two operators that you can use to implement the lossless solution for the back pressure problem. Let's take a look into the working of these two. So buffer operator basically collects all the element from the source observable into memory and emits them into the form of bundle after the given interval of time periodically. So with the help of Marvell diagram, you can understand this working. So you can see in the third line, buffer operator is emitting the bundle of items like A, B, C, D and E, F within the given periodic time interval. And in that way, it is able to control the back pressure from the observable. Window operator works exactly same as the buffer operator. It also collects the element from the source observable into memory, but instead of emitting them into the form of bundle, it emits them as an individual observable. So in the given Marvell diagram, you can see in the last line, two observable streams are getting emitted, and those are basically the collection of the element that are getting collected within the given periodic time interval. So this is the basic difference between the window and the buffer operator. And these two operators are used in the RX Swift to handle the back pressure problem as a lossless solution. I'm really thankful to you that you stayed with me so long till this particular point. And now we are at the last step of this tutorial, where we will see the code implementation of all the operators for the lossy and the lossless solution. So in the given example, we are creating an infinite observable with the help of create method and this while true loop. And what exactly we are doing in this particular while loop is, with the help of random function, we are generating some random values between 1 to 3, and this value basically serves us as a time to which our main thread will be waiting, and after waiting that particular time, it will increase the value of element that is to be emitted by this infinite observable by 1. And we have created a string variable also that is basically recording the complete string that is being emitted on that particular time instant by this infinite observable. And with the help of onNext method, we are emitting that element. And share function basically help us in returning the observable sequence. So if you want to see the detail of share function, you can see that it returns an observable sequence. So we have our infinite observable ready. And the first lossy solution that we are going to implement is the debounce operator. We have subscribed this infinite stream on the background thread with the help of serial dispatch queue scheduler. So if you want to learn more about schedulers, you can refer one of my third tutorial from RxSwift series. We are using debounce operator on the main thread with the help of main scheduler singleton. And inside the subscribe block, we are printing the emitted stream up to that particular time instant. And at the second line, we are also printing the element emitted by the debounce operator after 2 seconds of the time window that is given here. Now let's run this project. I stopped this sample after the emission of 32 elements, and now we will try to analyze the console log just to check that is there any element that is got missed from this infinite observable when we are using the debounce operator to handle the back pressure. Now we can start from the 1. You can see there are subsequent emission from the debounce operator after every 2 seconds. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is missed, then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16. Here you can see that 15 is missed, 18, that means 17 is missed, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 is missed, 28 missed, 29, 30, 31 and 32. So now we can see that there are multiple elements from the infinite observable that are missing. So as we already know that debounce is a lossy solution, so we can see that we are losing some of the values from the infinite observable, but somehow we are handling the back pressure. Now we will try to use the throttle operator to handle the back pressure from this continuous stream, and we will also try to observe that no matter after how much seconds that continuous stream is emitting the element, but after every 2 seconds throttle will try to emit the element from that particular stream. So in the print section, at any particular instant you would be able to find the complete emitted stream, and after that you will be able to see the element that is emitted by the throttle at that particular instant. Now let's run this sample. Now you can observe that after every 2 seconds my throttle operator is emitting an element, but also as well as I am missing some values from that continuous stream. For example, here 2 is missed, here 9 is missed, here 12 is missed. So as we already know, this is a lossy solution, so that's why we are having some missing values. So as a third lossy solution, we are going to use the sample operator. And as I have already told you that sample operator takes a trigger observable as the parameter. So the stream that we have created as an infinite observable will work as a trigger observable for this sample operator. And with the help of sample operator, we are handling the back pressure of the one newly created observable stream, that is A. And A is basically continuously emitting the repeated element VGT with the help of repeat element operator, and the frequency of this repetition is 2 seconds, that is getting handled by the throttle operator. So one important point is to observe is whenever a stream will emit an element, then this will act as a trigger for sample operator, and at that time whatever element is emitted by the stream A will be emitted by the sample operator, and these two things you would be able to see with the help of these two print statement. Now I am going to run the sample. So now you can see that on the emission of the element from the trigger observable, that is a stream, my sample operator is able to emit element from the stream that is observed by this particular sample operator, that is stream A. It has been already a very long session, but don't worry, now we are at the last section of it. And as the lossless solution, we are going to implement the buffer operator. So if you look into the detail of the buffer operator, it is having 3 parameters. For now, you can ignore this particular warning and just focus on understanding the working of buffer operator. So time span is basically the maximum time length of the buffer up to which that buffer will be maintaining the elements emitted by the infinite observable. The count is basically the maximum element count of the buffer at a time, and scheduler will help you to schedule your buffer operator on a particular thread. So in our example, we have given the time span as 10 seconds and the count as 2. So at a time, buffer would be emitting only 2 elements. Now you would be thinking that there is no parameter given for the periodic time interval. So how buffer is controlling that? So the answer of this question is, whenever your buffer get filled with the 2 element with the help of infinite observable, and then immediately it will emit the group of 2 elements. Or anytime if your stream emits any error, then at that particular moment buffer will not wait for the buffer memory to have the 2 elements basically, and it will immediately emit the error element. So this is the working of basically buffer operator. Now let's run this sample. So you can see every time my buffer is emitting a group of 2 elements, because I have defined it in the code as the count 2. So in that way, buffer would be able to handle the back pressure that is generated by this infinite observable in a very efficient way, and you would not be having any of the loss of the element. So this is basically one of the best lossless solution. And going forward, we will learn about the window operator. So window operator works exactly same as the buffer operator. The only difference is you can provide the frequency time in the time span parameter. Count 0 basically indicates that within 3 seconds, whatever elements we are getting from the infinite observable, that window operator can emit. And one more major difference is the emission from the window operator is again the observable sequence of the elements, so that you can flatten with the help of the flat map operator. So just to save some time, I'm not going to run this sample again and again, but you can understand the working of the window operator. So the two major difference you have already understood, that one is in the form of the time span and another one in the form of the emitted sequence, that is again an observable sequence, and each observable sequence emitted by the window operator is having its own life cycle. So in that way, window operator basically works to avoid the back pressure from a continuous observable stream. This long session ends here, but I hope in 18 minutes you learn the back pressure concept in a very in-depthful manner. In case of any query, you can drop a comment in the comment box, and if you need source code anywhere, you can provide me your email ID in the same section. And in the last, I just want to say that keep your motivation high, stay with us, and keep learning. Thank you.